Hello and welcome to Arn. This is Paul Bromwell, and today on the Four Horsemen Network and One True Sport, we got something truly special here, ladies and gentlemen. Not only am I joined by one of the greatest minds, workers, and talkers in professional wrestling, but today we're doubling the horsemen and doubling the fun. First, he's the Hall of Famer, the founder of the Four Horsemen, the creator of that spine buster, the 1A of tag team wrestling, our television champion. He's currently my tag team partner. He's Arn Anderson. And if that's not enough, joining us is his legendary partner in crime, the other half of the Brain Busters, a fellow Hall of Famer, a horseman through and through, and one of the sharpest tacticians the ring has ever seen, all the way from San Antonio, Texas. It's Tully Blanchard. Gentlemen, two of the greatest to ever lace up the boots on the same show. It doesn't get better than this. Arn, what's calls in all this, man? This is great.
It's deja vu, isn't it?
It's something. I'm telling you, it's so good to have you with us, man. I'm so glad to have you.
Well, it's a thrill to be here, and I was so excited. I got on at 4:30, so Central Times. I was a little early, waiting on you too.
Hey, man, it's great. We got to catch up and have a good time, and now it's an opportunity for everybody that's viewing us right now on YouTube and on Twitter, and we're live. We're live, ladies and gentlemen. This is your opportunity. This is a unique opportunity for fans to hear from both of you. They get to ask your questions. So right off the top, let me just say, guys, get your questions in. Use that super chat function, especially tonight. It's going to be critical because I know there's already a number of questions in queue. And you know how we do it here on. We're going to make sure we take care of those that are taking care of us. And so we appreciate all of you being here. Use super chat, and we'll make sure I go as quick as I can to get as many questions in over the next 60 minutes. It's just so good to have you both here. And before we get into it, a couple things that I wanted to talk about and get out of the way so that we can get to those questions. First and foremost, one of the reasons we set this aside to have you both on is because you both have a figure that's out right now, a wrestling figure. I'm going to show it on the screen. Look at him, jacked, heads full of hair. I mean, if Arn and Tully were to take off their shirts right now, they look exactly like this, by the way. Okay, but this is the last week for folks to take advantage of this opportunity to get the big rubber guys, Arn and Tully. Only available until January 31st. CollectMajor.com. You can see Missy Hyatt and Rick Martel are a part of the collection too. But we're here to talk about Arn and Tully. Arn and Tully, this is truly a special opportunity for folks to grab this figure, isn't it?
Well, obviously, they finally got it right. If you look at my abs, they are sharp. My intercostals are finger-like. The swoop on the thighs is absolutely correct. They finally got one right. So woo-woo. Congratulations to you and your crew, bud.
I was looking more at my biceps since I was known for the big guns.
Tully, I couldn't imagine being put in a slingshot suplex with arms like that, pal. I mean, you might pop their head. I mean, that's incredible.
Forearms aren't bad either.
You guys are you look like Demolition, without the face paint. But listen, you guys, what I love is the titles. You got the red TV title, Arn. Tully, they put you with the national television, the national title, which big fan of those belts too. So I mean, they did a fantastic job with these figures.
Yeah, and we're glad that they included us. We really are. Those guys are good guys. They're good for the business. They're out there plugging along and including us. At least I am very grateful and thankful and appreciate it. I'm sure
both of us are.
Feels the same way. I don't want to speak for him, but it's cool, man. It's cool.
Well, it's okay. You've been speaking for me for years, so it's all good.
Well, we only had 2 or 3 minutes. I couldn't let you get off on a tangent. We'd have run 5 minutes over. I had to do the talking. You did the working, and I always give you credit for that. You were the worker. You were the guy that set the pace. You were the guy that was the brains. I was still, when we first got together, not jumping ahead or anything, but I was still a rookie in the business. I was just learning. When I came to Crockett in '85, I'd only been in the business a couple of years. So, And in those days, couple of years just meant you were just getting started, green rookie. He was the guy that I learned from, one of them.
It was, but you were a very fast learner, very fast.
Well,
And it was a joy to go to work every night with you.
thank you. And likewise.
And you two had tag team chemistry. It was that chemistry. You didn't even have to talk to each other. You just knew what each other was going to do next. It's what people love about tag team wrestling.
You know, and I've said this many times, it's the absolute truth, and people don't blame me, but the highly successful teams, the ones that were really, and I'm talking about teams now, I'm not talking about two individuals you put together for a tag match, but the Midnight Express type teams, the Rockers type teams, the, Demolition were an excellent team. All they had to do is look at the apron at your partner, and he knew what you wanted. It was like some telekinetic, telepathic bond that you have, that if I look at Tully and slap my knee or slap my leg, he knows what's coming, and it just becomes automatic. It really does. You can quit thinking, and you just get in there and just act and react.
We had a little bit of this conversation Saturday night at Saturday night's main event, and I asked him somewhat of a question like that, and he came up. His answer was a little bit surprising, but so truthful. The guys today don't get enough reps, and when we wrestled twice on Sundays, Monday, TV Tuesday, you had to wrestle maybe 3 times that night. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Atlanta TV, and then Saturday night somewhere, and then twice on Sunday, and it started over. And 330 days a year, you got to know each other unbelievably well in the ring and outside the ring, but in the ring, and it was just a glance. Sometimes it wasn't even a glance. I mean, we knew what was going on. Boom, boom, boom. Without doing anything.
The 3 was counted, and the match was over, and you were already at the back, and you were like, "What just happened?" We just knocked another one out. It just that's how close you were. You mentioned Saturday night's main event. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. We all saw you there, Arn, sporting that Four Horsemen vest. Yes, I know I'm shilling to the top left there. You can find those, by the way, at 1tsport.com. Those nice fleece Horseman vests. But Arn and Tully, talk to us a little bit about that experience being there Saturday night. Tully, you shared with me it's one of the highest rated Saturday night's main events of all time, you heard.
Not one of the. And so that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure that Arn and I being there had a lot to do with it, but
I think it does. I think forget Jesse Ventura. They need to bring Arn and Tully in from now on to Saturday night's main event. I think that's the magic right there, the brain busters.
Well, I'll second that.
Arn, how was that experience Saturday?
Well, it just, let's face it, there's just a world-class, first-class company. And they brought us in and they treated us well, better than well. I mean, it was just first class from the time you leave your house. They fly you in, put you in a nice hotel, provide a car service for you. The catering is immaculate. Everybody there is smiling, shaking your hand. I mean, the company is just, it's a place that I can look at every face backstage, whether it be cameramen or guys that are taping down wires, or the biggest stars in the company. When they're walking around, you can just tell they're glad to be there. And it makes for a credible environment. You want to go out there and tear the joint down, and I can see how hard those guys are working and those ladies are working, to get the quality work where they want it. And it's not just a show that's on the air. Saturday night main event, and the day when Tully and I were there, if you got picked to be on Saturday night main event, it meant Dick Ebersol saw something that he liked, and he was the big boss, and he wanted it on his show. He wanted you representing NBC and Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, speaking of first class, I don't know if you guys saw this or not. I want to throw this on the screen. Triple H, he put a tweet out in response to your tweet, Arn. Great to see you both interact with this generation of talent. Always a pleasure to spend time with both of you. And he interacted with a lot of the legends that put tweets out on X throughout the weekend. But talk about just a first class leader and individual, and he made that effort to do that. But you said first class. Here's just another example of it.
That I've known Triple H since he very first started in the business with WCW, and I liked him right away. I could just tell. Here you got a young guy that's a student of the business, and he's studying and he's learning and he's asking questions, and the evolution that he's had to where he first started with WCW, and then he moved on. Obviously, his goal was to be with WWF. He achieved that goal, and to be in the saddle where he is right now is you've got a wrestling person with a wrestling mind, but he's smart enough and he's learned so much about the business. He's into every other aspect, the marketing, you name it.
Talent relation, all of it.
He is a well-rounded boss. And if I was going to, if somebody asked me, if it wasn't him, who would you put in that seat? And that nobody comes to mind. He's doing a phenomenal job across the board. And I'm sure TKO is very happy to have him and thrilled to have him because he's a leader.
Tully, what's great is he was a big fan of the Crockett era. It's on record. So, you didn't necessarily work with Triple H, as wrestling wise, but what's that relationship like with him whenever you get to see him, when you make these appearances and you see him backstage? Because I know he was a big fan of your work growing up and watching the product.
Well, Arn's got a much closer relationship to him because his career was a lot longer than mine. But every time when I went up to the ring and shook his hand, he stopped what he was doing and reached over, and I just said, "Thank you for having us here." And, and just kind of touch base, right before the show, hours before the show is not the time to get chit chatty.
Sure.
Because everybody's doing stuff.
Yeah. But he just always seems very kind and respectful of those that came before him. And it's not, that's what I think I love about the Triple H era, is that you're seeing that he is always respectful and wants to make sure that attention is given to the veterans and the folks that came before the talent, the roster now, which I think is really cool.
Really is.
Yeah.
And the veterans, are the same way. They will cross the room or cross the arena to come say hello if they've seen you for the first time, and, let you know that they're glad that you're there and all those things. It's just a great atmosphere backstage, which translates to a great atmosphere once the show starts.
They put over on commentary both the Brain Busters. Again, you can find this on our website, but also the Horsemen, Arn. So there was no, back in the day we're not going to talk about the Horsemen. Wasn't a WWF creation. Nowadays, the Four Horsemen and the Brain Busters, and there's no holding back. And I just think, again, that's so cool to see that, the handcuffs are off. We're going to talk about it all and all the great things that these guys were a part of. So again, just something else that you can notice as a wrestling fan, which I think is really cool.
One of the things that was kind of really neat the night we got inducted into the Hall of Fame was I've got a picture up in the hallway with Vince and the four of us and JJ, and he's holding up four fingers. That's the only time you'll ever get him to hold up four fingers.
That's right.
And that's a very rare picture. I have the same one up in my gimmick room. Brother, he had to have, down the road a few years, he had to look at that and go, what was I thinking? You know what I mean?
I know, but that's a humbling. Yeah, that's so cool, though. It shows you the respect. So I love it. Let's do one more shilling type thing, a promotional type thing, and then let's get to the questions because I know we have a lot in queue. And that is on this coming weekend, Friday, January 31st, Saturday, February 1st. This is a huge appearance for you and Brock. It's WrestleCon Indianapolis, obviously big weekend for the WWE with Royal Rumble. But you guys are going to be there both days, taking pictures, signing autographs. If you haven't met Arn and Brock, or if you have, this is a great opportunity to come see Arn and Brock. And man, I know you love these opportunities to shake hands with the fans and get to say hi and thank you. And this is a big event. And so we're really hoping you come out in droves and say hi to Arn and Brock. Arn, I know you're excited about this one.
Indianapolis is going to be on fire. It's a great wrestling city. It's one of those that it's a great sports city to begin with. And they've always supported us wrestling wise. And yeah, with all the good things with the Royal Rumble in town and the fans that are going to be coming from around the world, because the repercussions, the guy that wins that Rumble, guess what? Headlines of WrestleMania. Don't get any bigger than that.
Big time for sure. So make sure you come check them out. Say hi to Brock and Arn. A lot of other superstars will be there as well. And we're really excited about that. Now, listen, hang with us because I have one more thing to announce. There's a big announcement here tonight on the show. We're going to do it a little bit later. We're going to give us some breathing room, do some questions. But there's another reason that we wanted Tully to be here tonight. So hang with us. It's coming. I'm going to the super chat, and we're going to start with Darren Staley. Darren, welcome. Great to see you. He says, guys, how would the dynamic have changed if Corny was the Four Horsemen manager, Jim Cornette, as opposed to J.J. Dillon? Whoever wants to go first, just jump in. But how would that have changed, Cornette as the manager of the Horsemen?
Go ahead.
It would have changed the dynamics probably to a degree that we wouldn't be having Four Horsemen discussions right now. Cornette was absolutely dynamic as a manager, but Cornette wanted to be the star. J.J. Dillon didn't want to be the star because the four of us were in the ring doing it. And that's why the Horsemen exploded, because he let the stars be the stars.
You know, and I look back at it and I try to picture what you're saying. I just think Cornette fit the Midnight Express because he fit his team, you know, and they played off of him and he played off of them. JJ dressed to the nines. The Horseman gimmick was about making money, drawing money, dressing up, driving expensive cars, big houses. JJ fell right into place. You know, that shoe that he was beating everybody in the head with was probably $400 pair of, you know, if you think about it, that's a pretty expensive prop, but it just, he fell into that situation perfectly. He went from being Tully's manager to the manager of the Horsemen. It was just a good fit. And Cornette, who, man, he had that heat that you really wanted to attack him. We had the kind of heat that once we got by a guy that really wanted to punch us, he waited till we got by him in the aisle and punched us in the back of the head. They were coming over the rail to get Cornette, you know, and the guys, he's still got that kind of heat today.
Yeah.
You know, I would say if you took a poll universally, he's got as much heat now as he probably did when he was working every night.
Absolutely. But it wouldn't have fit with us.
No, I don't. It wouldn't. It was it's just a logistics thing and just a personality thing, and we all fit together, and it worked good for us. And what he had going with the Midnight was great for him.
Oh, it was magnificent.
Perfect complimentary piece to your point, Arn, with beautiful Bobby and Dennis Condrey. They're not they're not known for their, you know, cutting promos, right? So it was just a perfect complimentary piece to that team.
They were one of the teams I would put at the top when we were talking earlier about if I look at the apron and tap my knee, that telepathic thing Bobby and Dennis had, you know, probably to a larger degree than Stan and Bobby. Just because, I mean, Dennis and Bobby were just, in my mind, they're the best team I've ever seen.
Tully, what say you about working with those two in the ring?
Well, we dropped the belts to them the last night we were with
Crockett. Yeah.
And I think that it was a very good match. I don't remember a lot of it, but it was in Philadelphia. And and we could have had magnificent matches on down the road, even for heel matches, which would have been certainly a different take on things.
Well, it just wasn't done in those days because very few heel matches would have drawn, because the fans, if you really had heat, they would say, we all just go ahead and kill each other. Who cares? You know what I mean? But the reality was that was the first time we had two top heel teams button heads with two managers that could talk. And it was one of those situations that Bobby and I were best friends, and the fans knew it, which gave it a real feel because we were best friends and we're in there knocking each other's heads off.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. John Falsetta is up next with a super chat. He said, when Tully went to AWA, was there talk of getting a run with the belt? I know Larry was a heel champion, but it would have been great.
No, I just made a couple of shots up there. It wasn't about being there and being a part of what they were doing, because we still had Southwest Championship Wrestling at the time.
All right, so just a couple shots there. Let's go on to Michael Jensen, and he says, being that we're here in Royal Rumble season, what are your thoughts on tag teams entering the Rumble for a singles title shot? I love when it shows some animosity between teammates, even if it's a little bit brief. So do you guys like seeing that tension and having tag teams in a singles elimination like that? Let's start with you, Tully, and then we'll go to you, Arn.
I don't know that. I mean, the biggest thing, we didn't do a lot of Rumbles, I don't think. I mean, I didn't. And, the biggest thing that we did was the 2-ring cage match, cage on top.
War games.
And, those things were crazy. And every now and then you'd do a spot where Arn and I would come up and look at each other and then recognize who it was and then go on about our business, rather than hitting one another. But those things were, whoever thought those up was a little bit sadistic.
That's Dusty. You can blame him on War Games.
Yeah, for me personally, I can just, picture it. Here comes one guy. The very next guy out is his partner. And whatever the guy that's already in the ring, let's just say he's got a guy teeter-tottering, fixing to get eliminated out of the Rumble. You see the partner come running down, you automatically know right away he's going to help his partner get this guy over. Well, maybe he does, and right behind it, he pitches the guy that was already in the ring over too, which shows me that there's a single prize for a single winner, and those guys are willing to get heat with their partner and piss him off to win the Rumble. And that kind of story, to me, just adds to the Rumble. It's just a possibility because it is everybody against everybody. That's the theory.
All right, we'll keep it going. I want to get as many questions as we can tonight. Instagram, a wrestling historian, says, how would WCW 1990 have played out with Tully back?
We would have picked right up where we left off. There's no one that could replace him. When I came back, there's not a second place to put in the Horsemen when you're talking about replacing Tully Blanchard. He's irreplaceable. Period.
I would have liked to been picked back up, but life had a different plan.
But listen, it speaks volumes. That's 1990 and 89 we're talking about. Here we are 2025, still asking that question. I mean, it just speaks volumes to how people thought of you two together and your work, Tully, with the Horsemen. It's incredible.
It's an honor, and I'm humble and people still remembering that stuff.
Let's keep going. Big Steve-O NBH. He says, when Arn returned to WCW in late 89, if Tully's deal would have worked out, do you think the Four Horsemen would have been as promising as they were? Do you think the Horsemen still would have had that fire?
100%. 100%.
Oh,
And the thing was, we still had our health. We were still relatively young in the business. And it was just there was a 14-month layoff there where we weren't Horsemen, but had we been able to put that thing right back together, I have no doubt we would have picked up right where we left off.
well, absolutely. The first night that we were wrestled with the WWF and somewhere in Indiana, and we
Fort
came
Wayne.
out, and a whole section had Four Horsemen signs, and they had the security guys up there pulling the Four Horsemen signs down. You know, we're Horsemen for life, and it is probably the most unique thing that ever hit wrestling, and that's why people still talk about it now. What, 40 years later?
Yeah. It's so true. I'm sitting over here. I started looking in the general chat, and I love to see everybody just going back and forth and talking about the good old days of wrestling. I just want to thank everybody, by the way, for being here. If we get to your question or not, so many Arn of your Arn Show fans are here with us tonight. CG and Eddie and Andrew and Darren and so many. So keep the questions coming. Michael Jensen's back with another question. He said, kind of random, but we know Big John Studd is a trivia answer for Royal Rumble winners. For those of us kind of younger, do either of you have some background on him? If either of you worked with him, did you guys ever work with Big John Studd or get to know him at all?
Did not work with him. I think I was probably in the locker room with him some, but in those days, heels didn't wrestle heels. You know, I do know he had heat with the wrong cat, and that was Andre the Giant. And they had a hell of an episode where, you know, and this is a behind the scenes thing that you learn later, but I guess the Giant had a quirk. He didn't want anybody stepping over the top rope.
Yeah.
That was for the Giant and the Giant only. And I guess he put the word out, and Big John Studd just disregarded it and stepped over the top rope, and the Giant beat the crap out of him. I guess it was after the finish, John rolled out of the ring, went in the locker room, picked up his bag, didn't bother to shower, didn't bother to say shit. He just got the crap kicked out of him, and he left the building, and that was the end of his tenure with WWE. That's a behind the scenes. A lot of people know that story. A lot of people don't, but here you got a guy, what was he, 6'10"?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And he was probably close to 400 pounds. Basically caught that rabbit to get away from the real Giant.
I mean, you can't blame Andre for not wanting anybody to step on his stuff, if you will. You know, that was his deal.
Just honor it. Whatever, you know, whatever he says, that's mine. Well, by God, it is yours. Anything else, boss?
Right. Tully, did you ever get to work with Studd or no Studd at all?
Just in the dressing room. I never worked with him, but worked with Andre and a couple of times, and early in my career at Southwest, when I was just switching heel and everything, and Andre came into the territory for a while, and so we set up a match where I wrestled Andre, but I said, this is the stipulation: if I can last 10 minutes, I get a partner. And so I said, well, he can't catch me in 10 minutes. And I said, I'm going to run and I'm going to jump out of the ring and blah, 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 blah. And then I get a partner, and then we'll see how tough the Giant is against two guys. And I was jumping out of the ring one time, and he stepped on my foot, and it was like, boom.
Oh my God.
And then he snatched my tights. And then he did. And then when I finally made it through the 10 minutes, and my partner came in, he slammed my partner, he slammed me on top, and he sat on us. 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
And I'm sure that was just fine with you. Yeah, I'm good. Anybody else you want to stack up here? The referee, bell ringer.
Oh gosh, I tell you, we are very, very fortunate that Andre liked us, because there were people that he didn't like, and he made their lives miserable if they were ever around him. And but Andre was a very, very nice guy if he liked you.
I have a couple comments to make real quick, because you're talking about WWF type, Andre and all that good stuff, and it got me thinking about your time in WWF as the Brainbusters and some of the matches that you guys got to work. And whenever Arn's asked the question as far as top tag teams that he got to work with, he always talks about working with the Rockers, Tully, and just how good they were. What are your thoughts about when you worked with Sean and Marty?
Just watched the Madison Square Garden match.
Yeah.
I watched it, and I'd never seen it before, and I watched it about a year ago, and I sat there and I went, I couldn't believe we were doing the stuff we were doing. It was absolutely amazing how good those guys were.
I mean, there's highly successful teams, Rock and Roll Express and Dusty and virtually any partner that he wanted. The Rockers were young, athletic. They had put them together, handsome guys. The girls loved them. And they just athletically, they could just do completely different everything from everybody else on the card. So, and we were willing, like a lot of teams were not, to feature that. You got to have somebody on the other end doing the catching. As spectacular as all the things they could do, if nobody was agreeable to be there to catch them, you have nothing. And they right away saw, after we worked with them the first time, you could almost see them take a breath, because, hey, it was a cutthroat business back in those days. Nobody was willing to sacrifice themselves to get somebody else over. If you got over on your own, under the natural sequence of events of taking time and months and years. We were willing to go out and do everything those guys could do inside 20 minutes, irregardless of what the finish was. People were seeing something they wouldn't see the rest of that night or the next week or the next time we came to town. That's how good they were. And I don't think Jannetty gets enough credit, because in those days he was equals with Shawn, in my mind. And we all know how great Shawn Michaels is. But Marty Jannetty was just as good at that time in a different way. He had a whole different set of moves, just like Shawn had a whole separate set of moves. And, just to come out of the ring and go, God almighty, was that fun. And we looked at each other virtually every time we worked with them. We come back through the curtain and just go, man, how fun was that?
My goal every time I went to the ring, you make the people scream as long and as loud as you can possibly make them scream. And when you had guys like those two, it was nonstop screaming because of the way we worked. And we just got enough heat to make comebacks. And it was comeback after comeback after comeback after comeback after comeback. And they were off the chart. And the people the people in the garden absolutely went crazy. And they weren't used to seeing that kind of stuff.
You think about, it's got to be the golden era of tag team wrestling, because you wrestled the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, the Road Warriors, fantastic, the teams that keep on going, the Russians. Then you come to WWF, you got, the Rockers. You got the Heart Foundation, Demolition. I mean,
Bulldogs.
the Bulldogs. It's the who's who of tag. If you were to have a top 10, top 20 tag teams, I think I just named several teams all over that list. And then
Did we ever wrestle the Bulldogs?
Just a couple of times before they were on their way out.
It's incredible.
House shows, nothing TV.
Yeah.
Just maybe 2 matches, something like
Yeah.
that. We'd love to have worked with them some more. When we worked with Demolition, I mean, we already had our routine that was for the Road Warriors. But Demolition was a whole, they were a whole different, they were more great workers, and I,
absolutely. Yeah.
But they were the monsters of WWF at the time. And when we worked with them, we did a deal where I was able to get Barry off into the ropes, and Tully stuck a knee in his back. And as he staggered off a foot or two, I stood him straight up in a suplex. That had never been done to Demolition. And just held him there. And you could just hear like, oh God. That's the professional in those guys. Bill Eadie, great worker. But we were catering to whatever team we worked with, and our job, and we knew it, and we had no problems with it. And that's where we wanted to be, better than everybody else. We were the team in the other locker room that everybody wanted to work with. Everybody. I want to work with those guys. And we studied and featured all their stuff, and whatever time was left over, we took for ourselves. And if we had 3 or 4 minutes, we could get it done. If we owned 4 minutes of a match, when it was all said and done, we gave you a full product.
We know Heenan was the manager of the Brainbusters. Was that a role for him on TV, or was he involved with you planning matches and spots and things like that? Or you two had it down pat, you knew what you wanted to do, you're in there, you're calling the matches. Heenan not so much involved in that respect.
Go ahead, Tom.
Heenan was our manager at TV.
Okay.
He didn't travel with us. They talked about Heenan being our manager, but then Arn and I walk out by ourselves. And TV was his deal. But it helped get us over.
Sure.
And it was great for our career, but it wasn't an every night thing like JJ would travel with us.
I wanted to use this time and this opportunity because I teased it about an announcement that we had, and you mentioned Demolition. We talked about Demolition, and so I thought this is the perfect segue because Demolition is involved in what we're about to show you in this project, but so is Arn, and now so is someone else. So if you guys will do me the courtesy, I'd like to show a video and make this first time announcement right here on the Arn Show. Here we go. I'm going to kick it off for all of our viewers. Here we go.
Welcome to Ultra Pro Wrestling.
That's right. As announced right here on the Arn Show this evening, for all of you watching, Tully Blanchard is now in the Ultra Pro Wrestling video game that's going to be released later this year, along with Arn. You can be the Brainbusters and download Tully too. Tully, congratulations. Look forward to
Thank
playing
very
with
much,
you and
Paul.
Arn and being the Brainbusters, buddy.
You know,
Well, I'm glad we're not having to do it physically, and it's a game.
if I'm not mistaken, that's the first and only video game out there that has the Brainbusters.
It is. And if someone else has
Only
it,
one exists.
I mean, correct us if we're wrong, but listen, this has been all done the right way. Worked with both of you contractually. Hal Haney, who most of you know, who's done tremendous artwork, has done the design behind the video game. But I have it on good authority. I talked about Demolition, that they and the Motor City Machine Guns, which are also downloadable characters, they say they're the teams to beat in this video game. Arn and Tully, what say you about Demolition and Motor City Machine Guns making this claim?
Well, I think it is going to be promising to see.
You need to spit some fire, Tully. Tell them they couldn't beat you in real life. What makes people think they're going to beat you in a video game, right? Come on.
It'd be nice for me to be a smart ass and nobody be able to get to me.
There you go.
No repercussions.
Yeah. Guys, listen, you're going to be able to pick up the game at the end of the year, and you can be Arn and Tully, JJ Dillon. They'll all have downloadable packs, fully recreated. You're going to have all their signature move sets. That's right. Everything from the slingshot suplex, the spine buster, JJ Dillon, their manager. You can relive different phases of their career. You want to make sure you get your hands on it. It's dedicated to being the spiritual successor to the classic award-winning N64 games like Revenge and No Mercy. You can follow them on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at UPW Video Game, all one word. And then you can join their Patreon, patreon.com/Ultra Pro Wrestling. They're also on Blue Sky at Ultra Pro Wrestling and also on Facebook. But the game, you can play it on all your favorite systems, the Xbox, your PC, Switch, PlayStation. Arn and Tully, this is so exciting. These guys have been working very hard behind the scenes, but we could not wait to announce that tonight for you, Tully. You're joining the fray to be a part of this big-time video game with so many other legends, but congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. It is a thrill to be part of it. And I know about 6 months ago is when I signed to be part of it. So
yeah, so it's being finalized now, released later this year, and so we're so excited about that. Let's get back to the questions. I see some more super chat coming in. We're going to go to Bryant Haremza. Darren Staley, enough with your question. I don't even know that I'm going to ask that. Bryant Haremza, we know the NWA had lots of singles titles. Would the Horsemen have worked with everyone holding singles titles, or did you need the tag titles instead?
I don't think we needed it, but it made for when you claimed you were the best team in the world and you were the World Tag Team Champions, it was hard to be disputed. It set you up to make some pretty stout claims and some stout promos because the proof was in the pudding.
And I know you had the Red TV title. Tully, you had the national title. We saw it on your figures, by the way, earlier in the show. But that was maybe a little bit before the culmination of the Horsemen.
Well, the makeup of the Horsemen is Arn and Ole were the tag team.
Yeah.
When we started, Rick and I were the singles, and then Luger came in for 3 months, 4 months, and that didn't work. So out the window. And then Barry came in, and Barry was so good as a single. And I had to take, I didn't have to. I got to take Ole's place with Arn, and he and I meshed, had unbelievable matches and career onward, and it solidified everything we did. You had Rick and Barry, and then me and Arn in the tag team area, and it was golden.
You and that visual in 1988, Andrew just said it in the chat of you with the tag titles, Barry with the U.S. and Flair with the world. Just an awesome. I think it's a magazine cover as well. Just an amazing visual with all the gold, the Horsemen as it should be. Darth Payne wants to know, Tully, when's your book coming out? Are you putting a book out that we haven't talked about?
I've been trying to get a book out for 10 years. And I can't find the author that I paid, so we may have to re-up that thing and try to get another project going.
Arn might know somebody that does a different kind of book, like a comic. I don't know if you've heard about that or seen it at all. I don't know if he showed you maybe at a show, but he has a pretty successful comic that came out.
It's an autobiography done in comic book form.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it's like a autobiography.
Yeah, and it's fully illustrated with pictures. And next time you two are together, which, by the way, we'll have to advertise on the show if there's ever, a time where there's a meet and greet opportunity this year for both of you together. We want to know about that so we can advertise it, because I know fans love the opportunity to meet both of you together. So you'll have to show them, Arn, that comic book. And maybe that's a way to go for you, Tully.
Yeah.
It's a really cool modern way to tell your story. Great visuals, and people love them, don't they, Arn?
Let's back up. Did you get ripped off? Some guy ripped you off? What?
A bit.
Oh, that drives
Only
me.
10K.
Stop.
That's a lot of money at my joint.
That was a lot of money. This happened probably 05-ish.
Oh,
And
Tully, I know you're a man of forgiveness, but that's a lot of forgiveness, brother.
well, I mean, it's
Holy crap.
yeah, I like to take a plank to the back of his head, and then we'll talk about forgiveness.
Yeah.
it was a she.
Oh, no.
Don't matter.
Oh, man.
Just don't swing it quite as hard.
Unbelievable.
Now you can see how I used to have to live. It was brutal.
Oh, man. That's crazy. ATF Media with a fun question. Arn and Tully, if Hands of Stone Ronnie Garvin said he was looking for you, which country would you move to and what would you change your names to?
Brother, I've stated many times before, it was another day at the office does not fit with Ronnie Garvin. You better not eat late. You better not eat a lot, and you better be prepared to go 30 minutes of if you didn't get your ass kicked, it was because you were fighting back. Ronnie Garvin would eat you alive if you didn't fight him. Wouldn't you say, Tully? And it was just, I mean, it was a different deal. I mean, he would stretch you just using his legs. Wouldn't even be, you'd just be bent over the top of you. He had you stretched with his legs, and he's just looking at you like, how stupid do you feel? You want to let me up so we can continue, or what?
You had some tape. You had a tape fist match with him. I know at least.
Gosh, I had the whole summer stadium
Yes.
deal.
Great American Bash
with him.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I should write a book about that.
The summer of tape fists.
He was a handful, man.
No wonder people were stealing $10,000 from you after a summer of tape fist matches. You pretty much give anything away. Oh my goodness. Michael, let's get to Michael Jensen. Here he goes. He says, seeing the Motor City Machine Guns come into WWE this year and skyrocket to the champs. What do you recall the hardest part of switching companies? Great question. Seems similar to what you all did going to WWF. What was the hardest part? We'll start with you, Arn, on this one and then go to Tully. What was the hardest part going from Crockett to WWF?
Well, you had to learn locker room etiquette, which was as important as what you did in the ring. I mean, they had a set of rules that were unspoken, There wasn't a book anywhere that, it was just things that went on up there that you had to learn about. And the whole thing that I think was the eventual end of us, to be honest with you, is at that time you were working 24 days a month.
Yeah.
2 sets of 3 days off. Well, one of those was a travel day home, so that's a half a day gone. You would have a day, the next day would be free, and then that third day you would spend repacking to head out on the road again. And 24 days a month being gone from home after you've been on private planes, which got you home the same night of the show. Once you've lived that lifestyle, like Led Zeppelin, for God's sakes, and then, you got to be on the road flying a 6 a.m. commercial flight. And if you miss that 6 a.m. commercial flight for whatever reason, that ticket was no good. Guess what? You're out of pocket for your own ticket. So there was travel hazards and just the sheer amount of days. And it was literally, guys, it would be, you might start in Hartford, Connecticut. You might go to Des Moines, Iowa, back to Miami, all the way back to San Diego. That was not uncommon. And I'm making up random towns, but it was that ridiculous, that bad. And it would absolutely kill you.
The tours would end for your 3 days off. You would end, and then you'd have to buy your own ticket home. And somehow Arn and I ended up in Vancouver. We ended up in Nova Scotia. 3-hour flight down to Boston to go to Charlotte. And it was like somebody was jerking our chain, but you still had to do the right thing and throw the right amount of honor to whoever in the dressing room. And it was it was a tough adjustment for me, because the Horsemen were always the guys in the dressing room that were putting the money on the table, and we weren't up there.
Sure. No, it makes total sense. And Arn, I've heard you talk about that brutal travel schedule before. So, man, and the boys and girls that nowadays don't have to worry about that. Thank goodness. That's a thing of the past.
Yeah. I couldn't have done it. I was able to do it because we were young.
Yeah.
Youth. If I had flying a loop like we used to have to work, it'd kill me. Not even wrestling when you got to the towns. It was really, and in those days, the business was so hot. It was on fire. Nobody was caring about that was in the office booking these tickets. They don't care how far we had to go. Building availability, what was the best night for this town, all the things that went into their decision making had nothing to do with our comfort. That's for sure.
Yeah. Tully, quick question for you. Then we're going to go rapid fire to close out the show. And I've started a few questions here, and we'll go quick. I've seen you in videos on YouTube, especially preaching at the jail and things like that. You still have the black robe that you used to wear, right? Do you still have that in your possession?
No, I do not. But I used to wear that. But I still wear, this last Saturday at the jail, I wore a red satin horseman jacket.
Okay. I was going to ask you if you still have memorabilia or things that you wore, because I'm surprised you don't have the black velvet robe anymore. If you still had anything from your time on the road still in your personal collection.
High Spots has got, Michael at High Spots has got a shadow box with that black robe in it.
Okay.
Up on the wall at High Spots.
Got it. So that's where we got it. That's where I got to break out the checkbook. That's fantastic. Do you have any memorabilia from your career still left at the house?
I actually have very little.
Okay.
I had somebody come about a year and a half ago that wanted everything I had, and
cleaned you out.
yes.
There you go. Well, and all for a good cause. I'm sure it you didn't have to take a plank to their head. So that's good. All right, good stuff. I was just curious. So the robe's gone. Darren Staley, and then we're going fast. He put us up. We're going to throw him on the screen. Garvin versus the Barbarian versus Andre in a shoot fight. Who wins?
I wouldn't bet against the Island Boys.
Barbarian.
Yeah. And there's one in particular. Haku is still the world champion. I'll just go ahead and serve notice to all you guys out there that are in the business. The world champion is still Haku.
Haku's still the man. Tully,
Yeah.
what say you?
Well, I've seen Barbarian in action, and never bet against the Island Boys.
Ever.
Yeah. Mouthpiece Murphy, if you get a chance to meet these men, had a chance to meet Arn, and it was a complete honor. Couldn't meet a nicer guy. Thank you, Mouthpiece Murphy.
Thank you.
Cliff wants to know, and we'll go from each of you. Best city to work in. Best city to work in. Tully, do you have a favorite city that you'd like to work in?
Oh, we had a great number of them, but I think Greensboro Coliseum would be at the top of the list.
Greensboro. What about for you, Arn?
Oh, well, I gotta say Charlotte.
Okay.
Just because there's no trip. House is always full.
That's right.
And in those days, that was a blessing. To go down to the Charlotte Coliseum and it be full, knowing you had a 15-minute ride home and you were making a nice chunk of change, better than that.
Gotta ask a sports question on here. Ryan, he says, who do you all have in the Super Bowl, Kansas City or Philadelphia?
Oh, Kansas City.
Okay.
Kansas City. They hate me around here because they're calling me fair weather. I just jump on the Kansas City bandwagon because they are what they are.
Well, I mean, I saw this morning that they had like 15 one-score victories in a row. They
know how to win close games.
Yeah.
Has Brock given you some shit, Arn? Or
well, yeah, they hate me. I mean, he likes Detroit. Obviously, we try to stay Panther fans because that's our home team. We do our best, and it's been difficult the last couple of years.
Right.
I mean, it really has, but we try. What turned me with Kansas City is you just look at the type play that they have offensively. All these shuttle passes and all these triple reverse flea flicker. I mean, let's face it, if there's 40 seconds left and they're on their own 30 and they're 4 points down and they have the ball, I would never bet against Kansas City. They will find a way to get in the end zone. Defensively, you get in that last couple of series with the opposing team, they send everybody. If you're a defensive fan,
yeah,
here they come, and it's all of them. There's no safety back there, and the other teams have not been able to adjust to it, and it ends up being sack after sack after sack, or throwing the ball away, or pick six or something. So their defensive coordinator is incredible as well. The way they, play the game, but one score is enough as long as it's on the W side.
For sure. Darth Payne says, greatest tag team of all time. Thank you guys for everything. I hope to get a pic with you both one day. Daniel Thompson says, what is Tully's favorite memory of Dusty Rhodes?
I had so many matches with Dusty, and all of them were great matches, and just being able to work with him and have that kind of relationship with him, that whenever he got to a position booking wise, he just put me and whatever title there, or against me and Arn, him and Magnum, him and whatever, it was golden.
Yeah.
So
He
that
trusted
was,
you. He had a lot of trust and faith and wanted to
Yeah.
work with you. Respect. Sean Patricks, thanks for what you all did. I loved you guys. The Brainbusters were my favorite WWF tag team. So more love coming in there. Thank you, Sean. Ashley Scott Music, he just donated $2 just to say thank you all for everything. So thank you, Ashley Scott. I know he's
Thank you, Ashley.
yeah, he's a musician. I think he shared a CD before with Yarn when he's met you before.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know
Yambag. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yambag Jones, I want to throw up here. He says, cheers, Arn Show fan. Been a great episode. I want to share this. Yambag, good buddy of mine, got some bad news with cancer and his father, and not good. Not good. And it's been rough for Yambag. And so we love you, buddy. And prayers for you and your family and your boys. He's got 2 young boys. So he loves the show, Arn, and we love you. He's been a long-time supporter. So we hope you have.
God bless you, buddy.
Yeah.
God
sure.
bless you. And that's still a shit name. Didn't we talk about Yambag?
We've talked about Yambag. Yep.
If he came up with that name, it could have been anything, and that's what you got.
He'll love that. He's going to appreciate that. We're going to end the show with big spender Darren Staley, and he says for $25.
Whoa!
Before you all go, if you told me 1986 me when I was 12 years old that I would be able to sit around this virtual living room and interact with y'all, I added that in there, but that's what this is. I would have just died. I grew up in Charlotte, CLT. I can't even explain how much this means to me for y'all to do this. Thank you so much.
Darren, thank you, buddy. You're a class act. And it's a shame we didn't run into each other. But, you know, the reality is during those days, we were never in Charlotte. We were commuting to another city. We were just here to sleep. That's it.
It's
God bless you. Thank you for the comment.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Darren, you're not the only one pinching yourself. I count it a privilege myself to be able to do this with Arn and now have been able to forge a relationship and friendship with Tully. I was that same 10, 12-year-old kid, and it's a pinch me moment. And so I want to thank both of you for this. This means the world to me and so many other great fans. It just gave us, me and so many others, I'm sure, goosebumps to see you on Saturday night's main event and see you guys get the recognition that you both deserve. You're class acts, you're great men. You've grown up to be great fathers and great people who I admire and respect. You know, they don't say don't meet your heroes. I have the privilege of getting to know you two, and you two live up to the bill. And so this has been a true honor for me to get to know you and have you here on this show. So I just wanted to say thank you from me as well. And Tully, we got to have you back again. Would you be willing to do this with Arn and I sometime again down the road?
Sure. But thank you guys both for inviting me to be with you tonight. It's it's always a thrill to be on the same autograph show or something with Arn. But to be on this and listen to the stories, they entertain me as much as they do you.
That's great.
Well, hopefully, you know, everybody that fans of the show and anybody else that's heard about this, it was worth their hour. It's entertaining, I hope, for everybody. I just want you to know that the audience, you know, our wrestling fans are the most important thing that we have. Without wrestling fans, we don't have a product. And we've got some great people that follow us week to week or every other week. And I want to just say thank you to all of you who take the time to be with us. Tully, thanks for taking time out of your day to be with us. Paul,
my pleasure.
You're the brains of this outfit, and that's
scary.
That's frightening.
It is frightening. Oh man.
I would have said that you're the right guy.
You know what, Tully? I really do like you. You know, so good.
Can't put him over too strong. He'll get a big head. Trust me.
You don't want
And
this hat to pop off.
And he's about 6'5", so it's like I pick my spots.
Man, I love both of you all, and this has been a great time, and I hope all of you enjoyed this. On behalf of Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, the Brainbusters, founders of the Four Horsemen, this is Paul Bromwell, and we'll see you back here in 2 weeks on the next episode of Arn.
Here's my favorite part, Tully. Jump in there. Bingo.
There you go. We got